Good afternoon. Welcome back to Tuesday Talks with the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra. My name is Judy Zorn. I'm the executive director of the orchestra. And we've taken a 2-week break. And so I'm just very happy to welcome everybody back to our wonderful conversations. And this week, I am thrilled to introduce Judy Wagley. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
And Judy, of course, many of us know, and her voice certainly, because she is the producer and the host of afternoon classical music on WCMU Public Radio. And I know many of us have enjoyed so many of her broadcasts. And thank you so much for everything you do at WCMU. And so today we have a chance to take a peek and talk with Judy about her incredible interest in music. And of course, she is a French horn player. So Judy, tell us a little bit about how did you get started in music with this incredible love and passion that you have for music?
When I was growing up, I don't remember ever not hearing music. There was always music in the house. Someone was playing the piano, someone was listening to the radio, records, cassette tapes, then later CDs. There was always music in the house all the time, and usually classical music, occasionally big band show tunes. And my mom really liked Frank Sinatra, but most often classical music and lots of opera too. So that's how I grew up.
Did your mom and dad play any instruments or sing or?
They did not officially play. They would sit at the piano and play by ear, and they would sing along. And I learned from my mom that there is a song for everything. There's a song for everything because she would just sing all the time.
Everything reminds you of a song, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so my parents would sing or sit down at the piano or listen to music, and it was just there all the time.
So how old were you when you started playing the French horn?
I was in the 5th grade. It was time to join the band in the 5th grade. I had already played the piano a little bit before that and had tried to play the clarinet a little bit before that too, but it was time to join the band. And I wanted to play the flute or the drums. And mom and dad said, no drums. And by time they were, the folks at school were passing out the instruments, the flutes were already gone. And so here were these other instruments, and they said, here, why don't you play this? And they gave me, of all things, an alto horn, which looks like sort of like a little tuba. They didn't even give me a French horn because those were already gone by the time they got to me. So they gave me this alto horn and I played that. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I played that for a while. And then somebody must have quit or something. So then I got a French horn, fell in love.
Sounds like you had quite a robust music program in your middle school.
Yes. We had a good band program in my school. And I just continued and I loved it and fell in love with the horn and just kept playing. I also sang in the choir. Mm-hmm. And so I played and sang my way all the way through middle school, high school, college, until these many years later, still doing the same.
And you're still playing, and we'll get to that in a minute, but you're still playing your French horn.
Yeah.
So I know you have a music history degree. Where did you go to school then for your college education?
I went to Bowling Green State University in Ohio, mm-hmm. and started off in music education and changed my mind most of the way through school. I was just about done and I changed courses and decided to get my degree in music history at the encouragement of one of my professors, who also encouraged me to think about going into radio. So my first job out of college, my first real job, was in public radio. And I'm hoping that my last job is in public radio.
And it may very well be. So you started off in Columbus area then, or Toledo, in your first radio job?
That was in Toledo, yes. Mm-hmm. Then went to Columbus. Mm-hmm. And then, life happens. I kind of went in and out for a while and didn't do any radio for quite a while, did other things. and again, went back and forth a bit, did some commercial radio in Grand Rapids, and came to Mount Pleasant 2 years ago to work at WCMU, and it's been a dream come true.
Wow, wow. So help us connect the dots here, Judy. So you have this music history degree, but now you're going into radio, you're going into broadcasting. So connect that for us.
Well, I mentioned I had this one professor who suggested I might think about that. I had never really thought about doing radio before, although, like my parents, I always listened to the radio. And I think one of the things that I was able to pronounce composers' names. I think that was one of the.
Yeah, let alone spell the name, right? Yeah, exactly.
So one thing led to another, and it was just, one of those things.
Sure.
And ended up doing that and really enjoying it.
So was it classical radio then that you started with in Toledo?
Started in classical, and also did some jazz. And then when I left and came back and did classical and a little bit more jazz, and then a format called adult contemporary, and then got out of it for a while and then came back to do classical, which is my forte, and I'm loving it.
Oh, it is. So, and I can imagine then that the music history degree really helped you as you put your programming together and
Yeah.
use your programming. So tell us a little bit how that works. Where do you start with that?
That's a great question that I ask myself every day. Where do I start? At WCMU, we have a music library of more than 30,000 recordings, CDs and LPs.
Mhm.
And it is a bit overwhelming when you walk into that room, because where do you start?
Right.
So I think each day I think about maybe what's going on. Maybe there's a composer's birthday or an anniversary of a premiere, or maybe something in the weather or something that's going on in the world. Or maybe it's just something I'm in the mood for and hope that others are too. And just kind of go from there. And then it's a matter of trying to choose a variety of music from different genres, maybe some piano music, some chamber music, some choral music, orchestral music from different time periods, early music, Baroque music, classical, romantic, that sort of thing. And then also we have to work within a time frame,
I
because
was going to say,
yes, we have to meet NPR network to do the news and things like that. So we have to work within a time frame. So it's really like a musical puzzle. And
it
I joke that, when you're in, junior high school or something, you think, when am I ever going to have to do math again, right? Well, guess what? When you do classical radio, you have to do math. So we're constantly figuring out the timing of everything. Maybe, it would be easy to play, I have 3 hours to fill up. It would be easy to play a Mahler symphony, a Rachmaninoff piano concerto, and a Bruckner symphony and call it good.
on a day. Well, I was going to
Good
say,
programming, but
yes, because how do you balance then how much music you play and how much talking you do and
right.
giving background and introduction?
So yeah, again, it's just a puzzle. I do like to give a little backstory about the music if I can, if there's something interesting. Listeners have said they enjoy that, and I enjoy doing that too, talking a little bit about the composer or the performer or a backstory about the piece of music. But again, I call it a puzzle. Maybe I have a short piece and then a long piece, and then depending on how things are going, I have to find something just to fill up 5 minutes of time or something like that. So I have to balance that all out. I do that, and my colleague David Nicholas, who does Mosaic in the mornings, he does the same thing. So
Right. Now I know you spent some time in Gaylord, and
Mhm.
you were not only on the radio in Gaylord, but you were a writer and a photographer for the Gaylord Herald Times. And so, did you enjoy that sort of diversion, or was that in addition to being on the radio?
I wasn't on the radio a lot in Gaylord. I did mostly commercials.
Oh,
Yes, I produced commercials there, and I did write and take photos for the newspaper, which was great. It really got me out and about, and um, I got to know so many people and learn about so many things that I wouldn't have had not done that. I also worked at a garden center because I really like plants. So, so I did that too. So I kind of took a little detour there from music and radio, but really, really enjoyed it.
Right. Well, I'm sure your position as a producer and but more even as a host on a radio station is, on the one sense, it's very solitary and you're working with yourself and putting the programming together. But then you do have times where you're doing your interviews and you're doing your talks with other very interesting people. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, producer host means producer. Someone asked me one time, well, what about your producer? And I said, I am my producer. I mean, we are there doing everything, pushing all the buttons, CD players, turntables, the whole thing. And especially now since March, we are considered essential workers. And we've been working alone. So I don't even see my coworkers anymore. I haven't seen many of them since March. So and I'm talking about the Onair folks, David Nicholas and me,
Sure.
Amy Robinson goes in the afternoons. We're there pretty much by ourselves, doing all of the behind the scenes work by ourselves too. And the other thing that producer means is I also produce different programs. We have a program called Central Stage that I produce. I don't host it, but I put the program all together. We have a program called Children's Bookshelf, which I now produce.
I saw that.
So I, take care of all the behind the scenes work that goes on with that program. And recently we put together a special about Beethoven and we produced that. And I helped write the script and I actually produced that. Producing means sitting down and putting all those puzzle pieces together to get it ready to get on the air. So I really enjoy that part of it, the producing part.
Well, and that is such a contrast too, to just being the voice of, classical afternoon classical music. You are the whole mind and thought behind the program and other programs too, as you just mentioned. So that that has to be very interesting to find all that information and then, like you say, get it to fit within the time frame that you're allowed.
That's correct. So the on-air folks, we have our own program. That's our time slot and we fill that up, and which is really great to have that independence. And that's our baby right there each day, that we could fill it with music or interviews or whatever we want to do. And it's wonderful to have that independence. And it is a challenge, but it's fun. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. We're not just sitting there, listening to music with our feet up, eating bonbons. That's for sure.
Right. And these programs just don't drop from the sky.
Right.
I mean, you're like, yeah, I hear you.
We're doing live radio too. It's live radio every day. So, which is a really great thing. And I really love that our listeners understand that and they appreciate that. And it's been especially great during these last months during the pandemic, being able to make that connection directly with listeners who know that we're there for them and that we know that they're there for us.
Right.
And
Right.
we love that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know you have some other interests outside of broadcasting and music history, and I know that you're an avid gardener, and so you must have a beautiful yard. And tell us about what aspect of the gardening is it that really intrigues you?
Well, my specialty, I guess, is herbs. And my garden at well, not right now, but in the spring is mostly containers here in Mount Pleasant. I don't have a real good situation where I can have a big garden, but mostly containers. So I like to grow my herbs and cook with them. I like to cook. And I'm also a very avid swimmer. And the most difficult part about the pandemic for me has been not being able to swim every day before work. And that's what I did before. That's how I prepared my day, as I swam laps. And I haven't been able to do that. So that's been
Yeah.
tough.
That's a great way to work out all the kinks, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I would plan programs in the pool too. I'd get all sorts of work done, just, swimming back and forth. So I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
A lot
I
of ideas
like,
pop into your head, right?
yes. So I like to garden, I like to swim, and I like to cook. And I like to play my horn.
Well, and you are playing with the Northern Michigan Brass Band. You're
Mhm.
playing with a group in Gaylord still, aren't you? And a couple groups in Mount Pleasant area.
Yes, the Central Michigan Area Concert Band and the a band in Clare, the Gateway Band. Of course, no one is playing now, and we all miss that terribly. Musicians are having a pretty hard time these days. We
Yeah,
miss each other,
yeah.
and we miss
Any
getting
talk of getting back at it? Any live performances for maybe the spring?
I don't know. There may be something coming up in July with the brass band. But of course, I was just thinking last year at this time, we had no idea what was coming. And it's really hard to plan anything. I'm trying to keep my chops up at home. I try to play my horn at least a little bit each day.
Yeah.
So I'm not too out of shape when we do get back.
Exactly. I know I hear from a number of our GLCO musicians, and so many of them are saying, I'm just really keeping up my practicing, and that really helps them get through these hard times. But also, just like you said, just trying to keep in shape for when we do start up again. And, we're looking at possibly something in April and something in June. And we're just so excited. We were thrilled to be able to bring at least an audio version of Handel's Messiah to our audiences this December. And by using our last year's performance, and I heard from so many of you out there, thank you, that you enjoyed that so much. And it makes your holiday, as we know. And so we're looking forward to when we can be out there again. And Judy, you and WCMU have been always so kind to the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra. And I know you've done some interviews with Libor and with other people, and certainly play our music. And we thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all you're doing there to keep that music going. And I've been so impressed with organizations like yours and others all around the world who are making sure that folks can hear music, whether it's virtually and, going to great lengths to make sure that the music is out there because it is so much more than entertainment. And I think that folks are really figuring that out now, that we need this music more than ever.
It is.
And so thank you for what you're doing.
Well, you're welcome. And again, thank you for keeping the music out there, keeping it live during all this time. And I venture to say, how many of us get through a day without listening to some kind of music? I can't imagine whether you like jazz or whether you like contemporary music or show tunes or classical music. We all have some kind of a radio station on or our little earbuds in or something. And music helps to get us through the day. And it certainly has helped to get us through this very interesting time, if you will call it that, with the COVID virus. So we're really excited to what we're planning for late winter and early spring, and getting back at everything. So Judy, it has been just such a pleasure to have you on the other end of the microphone. How about that?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me and happy new year. It's going to be a good one. 2021 is going to be good.
Oh, it is. It is. And I want to thank all of you out there for joining us today and learning a little bit more about this voice and personality that we all have come to know so well on WCMU. Judy, thank you again. And I want to thank all of you out there for the support that you have given to the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra during this time and during our fall and year-end appeal. Your support makes a difference. And we will continue to bring you quality classical music from the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra. Thank you, everyone, and my best wishes for a very happy and healthy and safe new year. Take care.